Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Vincent joining from Berlin. He's a tech founder, an investor. So Vincent, tell us, what are the 5 steps that tech entrepreneurs should be doing out there to make the first million?
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's really a privilege and really an honor, and I'm happy to share this from my point of view, and happy to go into all the detail. The first thing that I would tell is you have to be grounded in what you are doing. And that means you have to pick the right purpose, you have to take responsibility for that purpose, and you have to make the right sacrifices. You have to understand what it is on your path that you have to sacrifice if you really want to follow that purpose. Secondly, you have to understand your own talents, and you have to ignore your weaknesses. A lot of people find that very difficult. Also, I'm speaking from a German experience. When I was growing up, a lot of people were saying, you have to improve your weaknesses. And for me, this didn't really feel right. So it's from my experience, absolutely speaks for that as well. You have to focus on your talents, and then you have to build a team that compensates for it with other skills and other talents. Thirdly, you have to make yourself useful. It sounds very simple, but really think about, where do you bring some value to the world? It can never be about yourself. It has to be about that purpose. And how do you make yourself useful in the beginning, maybe in small steps, and then bigger steps as you progress with your business, as you progress with your career. Fourth part, you have to ask for what you want. You have to go out there and you have to overcome that shame, that anxiety, and you really have to express it in such a way, and you have to practice it. It's not easy. It doesn't come easy to a lot of people, but the only way to go through it is to practice it. And you have to be that, take that warrior spirit and go out there and express what you want and how you can have that impact as an entrepreneur in the world. Last but not least is what I call, you have to make yourself obsolete if you want to achieve the ultimate success.
100%.
And that means, again, it can never be about you. It's always progressing, growing, doing a certain job, handing it over, automating it, maybe getting rid of it. Maybe it served its purpose and it's done. Never get attached to the things that you have done in the past. Never get attached to the role that you have, and that maybe, speaks to your ego. You always have to be able to let go of that, to have other people grow in their positions and let them shine. And this gives you so much more leverage in what you're doing as an entrepreneur. It's mind-blowing. And this is really like the key to exponential growth and to business success.
Wow, that's amazing, the 5 steps, Vincent. I want to touch base in this last one that you shared with us, which is make yourself obsolete. Because we found a common issue with the entrepreneurs out there, that they make the company about themselves. Yeah, let me tell you a story. I have a cousin that he does refurbishment, and he has a refurbishment company, and he came to we have lunch like 6 months ago, and he was telling me, Harry, I'm telling people no, I'm telling clients no, because I only can take the clients that I can be on site with my team to make sure that I deliver an amazing service. And I was telling him, I said, look, number one, I don't think that you should say no to any client, any proper. You need to say yes to everyone. And every time that you go there to that project, and you work along your team and you deliver that project, what you're doing is devaluing your company and devaluing yourself. He was looking at me like I was telling him something that doesn't make sense. He was looking to me very strange. I said to my cousin, I said, look, the more you go and work along your team, you think that you're there to empower them. You think you're there to make sure that the clients get the best result and everything. However, it goes to the point, if you're not there, to the point that if you cannot make it because you have two jobs at the same time, you're telling no to the client. So you're telling the client to wait. So I think that little by little he's warming up to the idea. But Vincent, how you, because it's not common for entrepreneurs to realize exactly what you shared in point number 5. Make yourself obsolete. You know, you have it's your company. You have to be on charge of everything. You have to manage everybody. You have to be there. And a lot of people make the company about themselves, right? About what it actually is about. It's like create something that actually have their own life, have their own that can move by itself without you. So when do you realize, Vincent, that this is the path that you have to take to achieve exponential growth? You read any book, somebody teach you, or just by trying and error? When do you reach this moment that you say, hey, hold on, this is I have to change the way that I do things, because otherwise this is not going to work. I won't be able to grow.
Happy to share this. So as I was, and this is basically 2 parts. The first one is I was working in a big consulting company and progressing in my career. And from the outside, it looked like everything was great. I got to this level of senior manager. So you manage projects of up to like 5 million euros at a time, and then maybe more as you go along. But from the outside, actually, from the outside, it looked great. But in reality, I was having a terrible time. I was close to getting a burnout. In my private life, my marriage was failing, and I was just getting overwhelmed with all these things, and I was really lacking this understanding of what is it where I invest my energy, and how do I actually can live my life so that it's actually worthwhile. I do something that is meaningful, but also that I can, of course, make an impact in the world, and then I also can take care of the other elements of my life. This was the key that set me on this journey that I'm here now of becoming an entrepreneur and an author as well. And we can talk about the book in a little while. But the key moment with this idea about that you have to make yourself obsolete to achieve this ultimate success. I realized this. I attended a meditation course called Vipassana. It's a 10-day silent meditation course. I did this 2 years ago, and there they talk a lot about how stress is produced. Like, what are and there's only 2 elements that can stress you or that can make you suffer. And the one is something that you are desiring something that you're not getting, and this leads to your suffering. So you have to understand how to let go of that, that desire, or let go of that, attachment. And this is an important word here. And the other one is something that you, it's kind of similar, but something that you maybe got used to, and then it's taken away, and then you miss it, and then you also suffer, and then you're kind of like your attachment plays into that. And this is such an important dimension, because this really explains how our ego works in these ways to fool us into thinking that this is really what counts. And when we prepare ourselves to say, okay, I have all these things, and I've done all of these other things, and I can accept that with gratitude, and I can look at these other things and be grateful about it. And at the same time, I have to understand that all of these things are in the past, and they might develop in different ways. But what it is that I'm actually pursuing, how am I keeping going? Because the only thing that really matters is that you perform an action, right? From the action derives everything. And here it's this key that sometimes entrepreneurs have this it comes from a good intention. That you say, hey, I really want to make this happen. I want to not make it exactly to that standard, exactly to that quality. But they a lot of times they don't realize that there is a lot of ways where they can transform this idea, and also their expectation about the quality. They can actually transform it so that the other people that work for you, or part of the company, or your business partners, can actually achieve that as well. This is actually possible. And then you have to investigate, okay, first you have to realize it, right? You have to realize, okay, I am attached to this idea, and I have to let go of it. And you have to maybe one trick is to picture yourself, in the situation, saying, okay, what if I let go, I let someone else, do a project, and I don't watch it at all, and I just assume it's going to happen. Of course, I will instruct the person, and this is your responsibility, right? And then try to imagine taking yourself through what is the worst that could happen, and of course the worst almost never happens, so that can help. But it's really like mental work. It's really meditation, mental exercise to understand how you are functioning, and then to observe these thoughts and these kind of emotions, and then kind of let them go and put them to the side. I can recommend reading Marcus Aurelius. He's that great Stoic thinker. I do it every morning, based on a recommendation from a friend. It really grounds you. And it helps you. And I think this is a key thing for entrepreneurs, because you're pointing this out. It's a great observation.
Yeah, I think, Vincent, I agree with you 100%. I've been there, done it. When I started my first business, we managed to sell 5 million. It was a property business, yeah? Because I didn't know any better. So I started my property business. So I'm doing all this work, and I'm working like 14 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours a day. I'm waking up with the laptop in my lap, yeah? And I'm inside this mindset, okay, this business is mine. I don't trust anybody. I'm not going to hire anybody. And how can I let people that I don't know go inside my tenant house if they steal a computer or they do something? No way. How can I give the key of the property that I manage to somebody else? But
Yes.
Vincent, what happened is I was exhausted. I was angry. Yeah. I was tired. Back then I have other job also, that when I built my first company, I was having my job. I was working as a room service attendant in the Hilton. And at the same time, when in the lift of the room service, this is what I was building my property company. But I was tired. And somehow I decided to quit my job, and I'm focusing in the business. And then I let go my ego. I surrendered to that, and I started to hire people. And I realized something amazing. I realized that everybody that I hired, they were better than me at everything. They were selling better than me. They were doing the account better than me. They were doing. There were nothing that actually could do better than them. That's the truth, right? So I remember I used to go to the office, and they come to ask me questions, yeah. And I told them, look, if you come to ask me a question, can you bring 2 or 3 solutions? Because I don't have all the solutions. So you bring 2, 3 solutions, then we choose. And then they start to come to see me. I say, Harry, this is the problem. These are the 3 solutions. I will tell them, okay, choose your favorite. There is nothing, if I choose or you choose, it doesn't make any difference. We have to choose something, and if it works, well. If it doesn't, we have to choose something else. I mean, it's not like I have a magic wand to say what's the perfect solution. We have to try. And
Yes.
it was a joke even in the office, saying, "Oh, don't go to Harry to ask him anything. He won't help you. He will ask you to fix it yourself." Blah blah. But guess what happened? After a while, one day I arrived to the office and they told me, Harry, we don't need you. Go home. I'm like, what? You don't need paper in the printer at least? No, Harry, go home. We don't need you here. We can run this. Go on holiday. Actually, the more away you are, the better. So I have one manager that was telling me, Harry, the only problem in this company is you. I was telling me,
Yeah.
you are the only problem. Go on holiday.
It's
Go
the truth.
home.
Yeah.
You don't need to come here.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Sorry, go on.
So Vincent, I was doing it kind of by accident, but this is what actually a true story. And I realized later that I managed to build a culture in the company, that I managed to empower the employees in a way that they can feel the company like belong to them, and they could be self-sufficient, and they don't need to depend of me. Honestly, I did because I want to work less, yeah. So, but at the end of the day, it was the culture in the company that one day I was not needed anymore. So Vincent, a lot of tech entrepreneurs, I ask them all the time, if you had to start all over again, what you would put more emphasis? And several people that have been interviewing this podcast, over 500 millionaires so far. 1 out of 5 are tech entrepreneurs, curiously. We're going to go that later. So, Vincent, how do you understand that culture? Culture means exactly what you're explaining. Let it go, that ego, and embrace your team. How you manage to bring this dynamic to your team? So in order that work on the process to make yourself obsolete, yeah, because to make yourself
Yeah.
obsolete, you need to have a team that is very proactive. You need to have a culture in the company. So how you realize that you need to build that culture? From where do you learn? Do you have a friend? Do you have any book?
Yeah.
How you did that?
So I have a great recommendation for a book, which is called Managing Corporate Life Cycles. It's called the author is called Ichak K. Adises. It's Adizes. So I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. Managing Corporate Life Cycles. And here, and this is what I did, and this is so essential when you are starting a business. There are 4 primary, let's call them traits, or there are 4 dimensions that you can that any business needs for it to actually keep growing. The first is obviously the entrepreneurship, and you can usually actually picture these in like a person. Yeah, let's picture 4 different people. First one is the entrepreneur with this idea. The second one is about performance. So you need to have someone who's really about, give me this idea. What is it that we're doing? Great, I'm going to go sell this. I'm going to go sell this, and I'm going to deliver it. I'm going to build up operations or production, or oversee building a product. We're going to sell this. So this is all about performance. So entrepreneur performance to get results. And then the third, at some point, as you grow, this is the first dynamic that actually achieves growth. Then comes the next dynamic, and also a role, which is administration. Because when you grow, at some point, you need to figure out, okay, how are we actually doing this? What are the actual, let's say, rules, the standards, the different templates that we're using, just to make sure that the quality is there. We fulfill all the requirements. There's always, we're talking about business, right? There's always financial stuff, there's taxes, all these kind of things that have to be in proper line, because if you don't, have this sorted out, it will cause, it can destroy a business anyway. But the worst thing that I've seen always is if you don't do it, it's something blows up, and then it captures the attention and the energy of everyone and distracts you from actually growing a business and making money and selling to your clients and take care of your clients. And so if you neglect that, it's a bad idea. So you need to have someone come in to do the administration. What is it actually? How are we actually doing this? And then there's a fourth part, and the fourth one is usually completely lost to these 3 parts, and that you need to have some really smart, let's say, founders to actually understand this part, because it's apparently not that common. And this is actually the part that I play. This is an integrator. You have to, because what happens is you build up the company, you have a management, and then you have your functions, which is sales, operations, and finance. And the business keeps growing, and maybe teams are growing, maybe applications are growing. Nowadays you can build a business with a few number of people, and then you have a lot of automation, a lot of different nice software tools and stuff like that, or business partners. That's great. So, however, what happens naturally is that the leaders in these functions, they optimize vertically. And that's great. Of course, they're incentivized to do that. Yeah? You lead the sales department, go make sales. You have the operations department, take care of the supply chain, take care of production, these kind of things, and finance, same thing as well. Take care of.
So Vincent, tell us, what are the most important steps that we have to do in company to build the culture that the whole team belong as part of the company, and so like this you can make yourself obsolete, which is an amazing concept.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. For this, I recommend the book Managing Corporate Life Cycles by Itzhak Aditzes. It's the last name is spelled Adizes, and he describes that there's 4 elements, and you can actually think about 4 elements in terms of 4 people. The first one is the entrepreneur with the idea and how to, what this business is actually about. So this is of course essential. Without this, no business will start. The second one is someone who is really about performance. So you need to have this idea, you need to have a product, and then you have to have the second person or a second function where they say, okay, give me that thing and I will get the sales. I will produce, make that product, I will get the sales. So you have these 2 dynamic, and that works. The third one is you have to have someone who's great actually at administration. Because at some point, and this is quite early actually in the process, and at the beginning, you might get a partner from this, but you need to figure out some basic stuff as well. How are things being done? How are the financials reported? Who does the tax returns? This is serious stuff. This can kill your business immediately if you don't watch out for these rules. So you have to have that administrator in your business. And then the fourth type, and this is usually it's overlooked in a lot of cases. I mean, I see this also as a business advisor, that even bigger companies of maybe like 500, 1,000 people, they're really overlooking this part. And that is the integration part. And here's why. So when you have the management and then you have sales and operations and finance, and you can pretty much describe any company like this in a very simple way. You build these functions which have their purpose. And then what naturally happens is they optimize vertically into their units, which is great. And this is how people are incentivized. However, at some point, as the business grows, and it doesn't mean that it grows people-wise. It can be that you grow transactions, you add more tools, more automation, more different things. The risk and actually it's a high probability, and this happens so many times, is that within these units, what happens doesn't fit with the other ones anymore. So sales starts to sell something because they have a great idea. Say, hey, we're going to sell it like this, and we're going to offer the clients that thing. And they don't actually talk to the finance department and see if they're actually prepared. If no one talked about this discount being given, right? Or they want to take out, explain another feature and say, hey, why don't we tell them that they can use it also this way? And then the operations people who are actually taking care of the product say, wait a second, no one discussed this with us. This doesn't actually work. We're going to be disappointing our customers. So here comes this really important element in, and this is what I specialize in. And this is the integration, where we really think about what happens, what are the parameters from the very, very beginning. And you can think about it in 2 major processes. These are end-to-end processes, which are standard, and you can apply them, and you must apply them everywhere. The first one is order to cash, which means what is the process from the first customer order all the way to the cash hitting your bank account? How does this work in your company? Who is doing what? Why are they doing it? What are they doing upstream? What are they doing downstream? This is absolutely essential. There's another one which is called procure to pay. It's kind of a subset. This has to do with I'm ordering something from a business partner or for a supplier, and I receive everything, and at some point I pay them as well. And you would not believe how much time is wasted on these processes, and there's so much inefficiencies. And on a higher level, this really impacts the culture of the company as well, because when people are working in different jobs in these functions, and they're completely lost with what they're doing and the purpose of the company, and they can tell, hey, wait a second, this doesn't make really a lot of sense. But then this kind of idea is lost on the supervisors of them, or they don't have this impact and there's no attention on it. It can be extremely frustrating, very, very demoralizing. And at the end, you will lose the best people on this as well. So you have to really think about this, like integrated, what are we actually doing? And this is a continuous exercise. This is how you can, this is the only way to be successful. Last example, by the way, from Steve Jobs, it's described, you can read it in his biography. He's famous or infamous for the fact, and I think he should be famous for it, for a lot of things, but he took care that when he put people in charge of different units or different business parts or functions, and then he understood, or he observed, that they were not working with the other ones, he would fire them. He was like, no questions asked, because he understood this idea. And this is what made Apple so successful. This is how they were able to create, for example, iTunes, and were faster than Sony Music, who at the time had access to all the artists, and they couldn't put the MP3 player and the artists, rights to all the music together. Sony should have basically done it, but they failed because of the integration was missing.
Yeah, I think, Vincent, that this point that you just touched is so important. And let's go even deeper, which is the ability of big organization to respond to change, right? So let's see that what is happening is that when you're talking about all these vertical integration, sales, accountant, and they're all vertical like that, and they're not talking to each other. And what it looks is like a big ferry, a big boat, yeah, where every line is one of these vertical. But what happened is that the market change is something change to move that boat with all these verticals integration like that. The response to change is really slow. Whether when you apply exactly what you was describing, that the interconnection between the departments, the whole thing works like they're little boats working as a group. So what happened, because all of them are little boats, if you say turn right, all the little boats will turn right quickly. Turn left, all the little boats will turn left quickly. Whether on the other hand, it looks like a big boat, a massive boat, and that's why there are huge companies that they have been extremely successful in the past, that they doesn't exist anymore. Or exactly what you said, the ability of Sony to change fast, because they have everything, but they were functioning like this huge boat, so the response to change was really slow. Whether Apple was more flexible, and they were Steve Jobs made sure that the whole thing worked like little boats. So if we have to change, we change quickly, and every boat talk with the other boat quickly, and hey, turn right. So as a consultant, when you arrive to the companies and you go and share this vision, how many barriers do you find in the organization, the corporation, to actually understand this concept, understand that, even if you are a massive organization, you have to be able to respond to change fast. And something has to be done in terms of the structure of the company to respond to change fast, because it doesn't matter that you are a massive multi-million company. If you cannot do that, you can go out of business. You are a tech guy, so technology can advance, and you can become obsolete. I mean, the whole organization can become obsolete, which is completely different ballgame, that the founder becomes obsolete. So what message do you have for these big corporations, that they are like this giant elephant, this giant boat, they are huge, but still they have to understand that concept, that the most important in a massive company is the ability to respond to change, and the more that they work in optimizing the process between the department, between the C-level, between they will be able to respond to change really fast, and that will give them huge competitive advantage. So what's the biggest challenge when you go to companies and you want to come across this message, or when you do your public speaking? So what's the biggest barrier that you find, and how you overcome that challenge?
So there's the biggest barrier is, and it comes back to your questions in the beginning, actually, it's about this attachment to an idea, or it's an attachment to ego. It's this attachment to, hey, things were great in the past, so why shouldn't they be great in the future as well? This attachment is the most dangerous thing that people can have, and having this kind of like this, it's a mixture also of, like, let's say, hybris, and thinking, okay, we will just keep going forever, and not having the humility to look at the reality of the situation, looking at the competition. And this is why it's so important, as we covered that as a leader, and especially as directors of these companies, but it applies to everyone in leadership, is that they must have enough time to step away from the situation, to let's say, meditate on it in whatever shape or form that can happen. You can go have sports and go for a hike or go swimming, it doesn't matter, but you have to have that distance, that healthy distance, that that breaks that attachment from how you would like the world to be to actually what the world is actually like. And then you need to, so this is a huge barrier. And then there's a second element. This is so what I tell my clients is, or usually this is how they know that they need to have someone like me take a look at the situation first. If it's someone like me that they need, right? Because I cannot solve all the problems, but I can solve for sure this problem, which is you can detect it when business is kind of slowing down. It's kind of like stagnating. It doesn't have to be like falling already, but it's stagnating.
As long as it's stable, something is wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Something is wrong.
So even when and this is also in the book, the Management Corporate Life Cycles, as the curve starts to go down, you have to already this should be the first like red warning sign. Yeah, something is happening, and usually people miss this. They think, oh, it's just we'll just ignore it. And
they blame the market, they blame
external factors.
This is the market, this is the stock market, this is the reception, this is this is European Union, this is and they don't look deep that this have nothing to do with any of this. The problem is inside the structure of the company, right?
Exactly. Yes. And there's two more elements that are warning signs. So one is, which is a structural one, where you can ask the question, okay, are the particular tasks that are being fulfilled, can you name the departments or the teams that take care of them? Or do you have to will you name people who do them? If you have individuals, you are in big trouble. Yeah, because you can destroy the whole company if something critical is happening, is basically depending on one person. And also another warning sign is that people are starting to leave. So you always have some kind of natural attrition. People just go on do other things. But if this is taking place in a more pronounced way, that's where you need to look at this. And then it's almost impossible to do it internally, but it could be done. But the way why it makes so much sense for someone to come in like me is that I can do it much faster as an external person, because I talk to literally everybody. I start with the corporate leadership, with the entire C-level. Then I talk with all the people who are running big projects. Usually these companies, sometimes they're already doing like transformation projects because they're trying to do something right, but they're not really sure what to do. So they're putting up these projects. Usually it's way too many projects. They're not very well planned, but that's another story. But and this is another key, I talk to everyone who is really doing operational things, from the accountants to the procurement people to the sales agents. And these people, they can see what's happening, and they will tell you, these things that need to be changed. And usually, or they just ask questions, say, well, I'm doing this, I have no idea why. I don't think this makes sense. And this will give you so much information of where the integration is lacking. And then I distill this. And this can be, I usually do this within 2 weeks. It's usually quite straightforward. Of course, the transformation isn't that straightforward, but finding out these reasons. But then the management has to be humble enough to say, okay, well, we should probably address this. They can have another opinion. But this is really how I do it. And from these things that I find, I group it, of course, as okay, these are the priorities. How difficult is it to implement? And along these two dimensions, you can then make a plan and say, okay, let's tackle these things first. But it requires, but I'll come back to your question, a lot of letting go of this attachment to existing structures, existing roles. And then also, another attachment could be that people want to be seen as this really benevolent manager. Oh, you're so nice, and everybody loves you. This is an ego thing as well. No one says that in business you have to be liked or loved. Is it more? It might be nicer, yes, but nobody says that.
It's all about efficiency. It's all about
efficiency. And you have to make the hard, tough decisions. And if it's too many people, or if it's the wrong people for the job, you have to make a business decision. And it's probably better for that person as well, because if you're not suited for a job, you're not going to have a good time. So sometimes it's even like compassion in that kind of sense. Sometimes even means that you have to fire someone. And it sounds bad, I know, but I've experienced it even myself in my junior years as I was learning and trying out different jobs. And you're trying, and you lack the awareness of saying, wait, this is actually you're not the right kind of person for it. And then someone else tells that to you, and then first you're shocked because your ego is attached to it, but then you realize, oh, wow, no, this is actually right. This is much better for me. I'm going to look for something else.
And Vincent, I would be very happy if I was running a huge company and somebody come and tell me, look, we're gonna bring you a guy that will improve the efficiency of the company and get the guys from Germany. I would be like, whoa, because you guys are the key of efficiency. You know, this is coming to gene. So when the fact is that the guy is coming from Germany, will be from Germany, bring him over. Bring him over, I will reduce waste.
It's kind of the stereotype.
I know it very well. Is building your I don't know, in the way that you guys are. Look the cars that you build, look the trains, the technology that you guys build over there. So I think this part of the culture of the whole country to optimize, to increase productivity and to eliminate waste. Yeah, I think
yes, absolutely.
There are several entrepreneurs that I know from Germany. All you guys have this in your DNA somehow. Now, Vincent, tell us about your book. Tell us about why do you wrote this book? What it's about, and what type of people you try to help with.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. So the book is called Work Like a Warrior, and we tried it out with the now
very
you
good.
can see it, Work like a Warrior, and has the kind of like a Spartan or something on it.
Yeah.
So
like a Spartan in the cover, yeah. So you have the helmet ready for war,
so it's the warrior, absolutely. So what is it about? It's actually and who's it aimed for? The parallel to what I do in business and consultant is very much regarding what I cover here in the book. And this is basically telling like individuals, and it doesn't matter if you're just starting your first job or you're starting an internship. However, it doesn't matter how old you are, or if you're a manager or not. It's really about understanding how you can be successful, like in any organization. Yeah, and that can mean also sometimes leaving the organization, but it is most people, and this is the thing, and this is what is driving me. There's a lot of talk nowadays to find fulfillment and meaning outside of work. People are frustrated, and my tendency is, and it's funny because it's such a stereotype. You already mentioned it with being from Germany, and it's like, what do Germans like to talk about? Apparently, it's work. So I don't know, but I'm convinced from what I've experienced and from what I see also in my life, is that the key is really to find the meaning in the work, and this is aligning yourself, again, with this purpose and the responsibility to do it and to make the right sacrifices. And in a corporate setting, in any kind of, or it could be organizations, could be a hospital, it could be a theater or opera, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but your organization, and you are working with other people, and it's the same thing. You have to focus on the purpose, and you have to ignore, or you cannot care about what people think of you. Or if you're speaking the truth and you're saying, well, we're trying to do this for the client, and the truth could just be, hey, I don't really understand it at the moment. How are we doing it? Just put it out and just to explain that more communication needs to happen. There's so much, meetings happening where people just talk for hours, but they never really ask the right questions. So the book, and I connected it, and I called it this Work Like a Warrior, because I was writing down all these recommendations, and it starts with groundedness as well. And have other dimensions and other sub chapters, and at some point, as I was writing it, I started writing it 3 years ago and published it this year in January. And as I was writing it, I thought, okay, what is it connected? Which archetype connects this idea with the purpose, the responsibility, and the sacrifice? And the archetype is, of course, the warrior, because the warrior is ready to sacrifice and make the ultimate sacrifice his own life or her life for that purpose. This is like the ultimate one. And of course, I'm not comparing, and I actually state this in the beginning of the book. I don't want to, pretend that this is, business life or organizational life is anywhere near to, armed forces and that kind of idea that you actually sacrifice your life. Of course, nowhere near that. But that's not the point. The point is the principle of that. The principle, if you take that and it lets you let yourself guided by that principle, that's how you can navigate this organizational life much, much better. And I want to point out, I give one example where it's quite close to my heart, where I basically one subchapter is called "Have No Mercy with Psychopaths," and I specifically mean narcissists in companies. And as I've been working and around this and going deeper into the book, I actually came up with like a counterintuitive truth around it, which is a narcissist in an organization can be an opportunity. or it actually is an opportunity. What do I mean by that? When companies, as a company, you have a culture and you have behavioral standards, and in our culture as well. When this narcissist is detected, and I cover a lot in my book how to detect one and how to detach yourself from the situation so that you don't get burnt out or you don't suffer from that, because it's happened to me and I know it's happened to a lot of people. So I cover that. But from an organizational point of view, it has to be seen not as it is a problem that you have to take care of, but if you do it right, it's an opportunity to strengthen the culture, because you demonstrate that you are willing to take the right measures in that company, and you have to fire that person immediately. It's, with all empathy, well, you can't really have empathy, but with all kind of compassion, but you have to protect the group from that individual who is so toxic. And these are kind of the elements that I describe in here, but I also describe some very basic things around this groundedness aspect. And I can recommend, of course, a lot of other great people out there on the internet, like Andrew Huberman and other people who talk about different ways to get grounded. There's so many techniques. People should figure out their own ways. There's so many different ways to do it. Yeah, it's great. I cover the ones that I do, like going to the gym and doing meditation, and I really love this. And then that's basically how I go through the topic. And there's maybe another example. The element about making yourself obsolete, I also cover this, and I have one example from the U.S. Navy, where on a Navy carrier, on the aircraft carrier, which is the most incredible machine probably ever, on the bridge where they are managing the flights from the deck, which is incredibly dangerous. It's unbelievable. It's such a small space with these $1 million planes. And you have to make sure that they don't crash, and obviously you don't want the pilots to die as well or get harmed. You have two positions, and there's these two seats. You can actually go to these museum aircraft carriers, and one has the word boss on it, and the other one has the word mini on it. And the boss looks to the back of the ship, to the landing planes, and the mini looks to the front. Why? Because there's a hierarchy. Of course, it's in the words. The boss is the more higher one, and the mini is the one after him. Why? Because the launches are simpler. Less things can go wrong, and the landings are the really critical ones. So what happens at the U.S. Navy is that when you get to that position, that someone says, "Hey, we think you are eligible, you are capable of this," you will first get the mini position. So you practice like flight deck operations from that position, from that management leadership position. And then and this is defined, after exactly 12 months, you will move to the boss position.
Wow.
Unless you are really messing up. But this is a defined hierarchical career progression. And I've done this also in some of my ways, and goes back to this obsolete thing that I've said to some junior people coming into my team, that I told them, well, this is what we're doing, this is how we're growing. And then when we would have like a development talk, about goals and stuff, I would say, in 12 months time, you will do my job, you will take over. And this is the ultimate, and this works on so many levels, because it shows that you trust the person. It shows that, but also it means for yourself as a leader, you have to take responsibility for empowering that person. It's your job. It's your job to make them ready, to make them grow, that they can take over from you. You don't want them to fail, right? So it goes both ways. And then it's the most incredible thing, because it really, it's so motivating when someone hears that and think, hey, wow, this is not this kind of ego-driven person who just cares about their own job. They want to progress, they want to grow as a person, or they want to grow the business as the business grows. So there's more opportunity for me as well.
So Vincent, tell us, if somebody's listening this podcast and they want to improve the process inside the company, or they want to hire you as a public speaker to talk about this topic in their organization, how they can find you and how the process work?
Yes. So best thing is to contact me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest thing. This is really for me around consulting work, around public speaking. This is how to contact me. Send me a message. I'm very selective anyway, so I will read every message. I will respond to every message. And I want to really make sure that, and then we can take it from there, have a simple conversation, usually like 15, 30 minutes is enough to just see, could this be the right kind of thing? And then we could talk about anything else. I am available. Yeah. The book is on Amazon. The book is on Amazon, so you find it under Work Like a Warrior. It's ready either as an ebook or you can have it a print version anywhere. And I also have a YouTube channel. You can find it on Work Like a Warrior. It's also linked. And I've started creating content, and it's really my goal to expand here because I realized, like, if I want to have a bigger impact, I want to make some more of this content available also to people out there who might not have access to this directly. So I will be creating more content and more advice of these things also on the YouTube channel. There's a few things already. I'm experimenting with TikTok as well, but it's
me too. Tell me about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Fellow YouTuber. I have my YouTube channel also on the TikTok. Tell me about it. We still practicing.
And importantly, maybe final comment. So I'm flexible in terms of travel. I love to travel. I love to go anywhere in the world. I love different cultures. I have been in many countries and worked in many countries. So it doesn't matter where it is. I'm happy to, when it makes sense to come see anyone, in terms of business or these kind of things, look at these things. It's these situations and these things that need to happen are always the same framework, and it's I would say culturally independent. Maybe some nuances, but yeah. So happy to be contacted and to talk and make some great things happen.
Thank you so much, Vincent. And if you're listening to this podcast, remember to sum up this broadcast today. The biggest point of your organization, you have to be able to respond to change fast. The bigger that is your organization, you don't want your organization to be like a huge Titanic that it move really slow. You need to run this organization like little boats that when there is a change, the whole organization at the same pace can respond to change really fast. And if you want to improve your company on that, you bring someone from Germany. They are the king of efficiency. So they have it on the blood. I'm telling you that from my own experience. I travel a lot to Germany. I have a lot of entrepreneurs friends of mine from Germany. And I know how you guys think, how you guys, you're very effective, very efficient. And it's embedded in the culture of the whole country itself. So it's and can bring a big solution. And on the other hand, I think that we always, if we want our organization to be better, we have to surrender to that ego and hire someone that had the right expertise. Yeah, we are not the people that know everything. Remember my story. Yeah, when you start to hire people, you will find out they are better than you at everything, and that's the truth. This is the real truth. You can be good at one thing or maybe two in your company if you're lucky, but this is the reality. So on that note, thank you so much, Vincent, and see you in our
Harry. Bye-bye. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
All the best.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.